The Midnight Selkie, Chapter 11. It was no surprise whatsoever where dinner would come from. Raleigh knew very well that Admiral Porter was a regular at the White Whale Tavern. Before they even entered the establishment, Raleigh could see his mother at the register counter talking on the phone. Even from there, she could see her eyes grow wide when they fell upon him as he came closer. She quickly slammed the phone down and rushed to the door as they entered. Without hesitation, she pulled Raleigh to her bosom and held him tightly. "Oh, thank heavens! I was so worried, Raleigh." "I'm sorry, Mom." She peered up and smiled at the Admiral. "Thank you so much for bringing him back to me. I called the police and everything."
"He had a bit of a fright and ended up on my doorstep. Figured I'd let him think about things a while. I had him helping me out today. So it worked out for the both of us."
"Dad's going to be mad, isn't he?" Raleigh asked. "I don't want him to yell at me, Mom. I'll run away again if he's just going to yell at me."
"I don't mean to pry, ma'am," Nye began, tipping his hat, "but it sounds like some things are happening at home to make the boy very uneasy. He's a good boy, and he works very hard at everything he does. Puts his whole heart and soul into what he does. Maybe he needs a break from the home life."
"Well," Kiana said as she considered her son, "maybe that is best. I'm sure his grandfather would be thrilled to keep him for a few days."
"Nay!"
came the roar of the man himself.
"I should have known."
Nye growled as he stuck a finger in his ear to ease it from the sound of Captain Jim's voice.
"Stick a banana in your mouth and shove it, Morris. They ain't got a scratch on him."
"What did you do to him? Where have you been?"
"If he was with you, then you had him somewhere. The police were at the lighthouse." "I had him a-working. I work hard at that lighthouse. And the watch before it."
"You made him clean that pigsty, didn't you?" Captain Jim accused.
"You lazy old man."
"Grandpa," Raleigh tried to interrupt with a whimper.
"I'll have you know that my house is as filthy today as it was yesterday," Nye retorted.
"Grandpa, I was on a boat!" Raleigh shouted as he rushed to his grandfather and tugged on his coat.
"Eh? What's that, Raleigh? A boat? I took him out on Bessie Beauty,"
Nye stated simply.
"What? You took my grandson on that floating bathtub? Kill your knickers. We only went to Merrill Rock, you old fogey."
"Grandpa, please don't be mad," Raleigh pleaded. "Admiral Porter was really nice to me. I'm okay, and I was on a boat."
"He'll be a master mariner in no time," Nye chuckled, ignoring Captain Jim's scowl. "Anyhow, Sarah! Fetch me my usual lassie. I'm hungry,"
he shouted as he helped himself into the lobby to find his usual place.
"I'm not a wench, you old goat!"
she shouted back at him, following with a tray, almost as if she'd assault him with it. Captain Jim sighed. "I'll never figure that guy out." "He's always seemed rather rough around the edges, Dad," Kiana offered, "but I don't think he means any harm." "He doesn't," Raleigh chimed in. "He's really weird, I'll give him that. But he's harmless. I like him." "You really had me worried," she scolded him gently. "Don't run off like that any more. You really shouldn't have troubled the Admiral so."
"Why would you go to him rather than me, Raleigh?" Captain Jim asked. "I'm your grandfather. Don't you trust in me?"
"You're all obligated to me," he replied with a shrug. "You're all in it. Admiral Porter is on the outside. He doesn't have to listen, but he does. He doesn't have anything to gain by me getting better." Captain Jim frowned. "Oh, I didn't think you had all that pressure bogging you down, Raleigh. I don't want you to get better just to pilot a ship. I want you to be able to enjoy life like you used to." Raleigh looked at Captain Jim, and then his mother. "You know, I'm not upset with you guys about what happened to me. You shouldn't be either. You did what you could. I forgive you. You don't have to be guilty about it anymore. I'll be okay." With that, he grew a bright smile and bounded into the back. Kiana and Captain Jim were left in a bit of a stupor. "Was that my Raleigh?" Kiana asked. "Seems the little boy has become a young man, Kiana," he replied. "I'm just sorry I wasn't the one to help him." Thunder gently grumbled as clouds began to roll in. Drops were few and far between for the moment, but by the sound and look of things, that would change soon. The wind whisked across the beach grass and rustled through the trees. Many a weather vane spun uncontrollably around and around, unable to actually report the direction of such winds. Squish, squash, squish, squash, came the mucky sound of heavy rubber boots in soft mud. The front entrance of the lab opened. Inside, Ebby, at rest beside Ben at his desk, perked. "What is it, girl?" he asked. She let out a quiet huff of a bark before she got up and rushed off to investigate the sound. "Ebby! Ebby!" She galloped from his office and down the labyrinth of hallways. She hoped that perhaps it was Raleigh. She had grown rather fond of her young friend, and she missed him terribly. Yes, that would be great if that were he. By the time she rounded the next corner, she realized that the scent was not that of Raleigh, but was still that of a familiar friend. She barked when she saw him and wagged her tail with excitement. "Good evening, Toto," Admiral Porter greeted, dressed out in his rain gear. She skipped over to him to be petted and scratched. "That's a good girl." But in the next instant, he pushed Ebby into an empty office and quickly shut the door, trapping her inside. She whined and barked, scratching at the door in confusion and protest. "Ebby, where are you?" Ben called, stopping suddenly at the sight of the Admiral. "Can I help you?" "You Ben Connor?" "Yes, I am. Who are you?" "Name's Nye." "Nye. Oh," Ben replied, remembering the name. "You run Porter's Lighthouse." "Yep. And you can help me by handing over your key card." "Excuse me? I'm sorry, but I can't do that. What business do you have here?" Admiral Porter was on him in a minute, grabbing him up and slamming him against the wall. His strength was amazing for an old man. It was amazing for a man in general. "Boy, I can fillet a fish in 5 seconds. How much you want to bet I can do a human in 10? "Hey, don't hurt me," Ben pleaded as he trembled. "Just give me your key card, and no one has to get hurt." Ben gulped, hesitating boldly for a moment before fumbling for his card. Nye smirked, snatched it from his hand, and put him down. But Ben wasn't free yet. Nye made sure to hold on to him by the arm. "Now, do you have a room that heads down? I heard that there was a downstairs." "Down?" "Answer me." "Yes. It's, What's in it?" Nye asked. "I don't know." "Don't lie to me, boy." "I'm not," Ben insisted as he shielded his face. "I've never been down there. I'm just a veterinarian." Admiral Porter smirked and pulled Ben close. "Then let's find out what's down there, shall we? Keep quiet and get moving." Ben was terrified. Everyone had heard of the Admiral, or at least caught a glimpse of him, but Ben had never really met him before. He was a powerful and intimidating presence. He was Captain Ahab and the mighty Blackbeard, the pirate in one. There was no telling what he was capable of. He stopped in front of the mystery door and pointed to it, as if it was not obviously visible. "This one." "How can you not know what's down there? Don't you work here, boy?" "I'm not allowed down there. Nobody on the night shift is. Only certain people on the day shift have access. I told you, I'm just a veterinarian, not a scientist. I just look after the animals." "So, you're not on a need-to-know list, huh?" Nice snickered. "Well, consider this an adventure for the both of us, then." With that, he reached out and slid the card, unlocking and opening the door. He gave Ben a gentle shove to get him inside. Down they went into the dreary room, hearing the water and machinery, but otherwise nothing. Once around the corner, Ben nearly choked as he sucked in a gasp. "Oh my God!" The Selkies perked and eyed the pair warily. They were tense and silent. These men were strangers. Admiral Porter gave a smirk as he stood before the glass.
"Look at them. They are so beautiful. And yet they bring a heavy sadness and longing to my old heart. Years and years have passed. Yet these fair faces never seem to lose their grace."
"What are people doing locked up in a lab for marine animals?"
"That, young man, is a group of Selkies," I replied, pointing to them. "And they belong out there in the world, where they are free to ride the waves of freedom. Now open the enclosure."
He tossed Ben the key card. Ben picked it up and stumbled to the end of the enclosure, much to the curiosity of the Selkies. However, there was no response from the door when he slid his card. He tried again and again, and still the door remained locked. "It won't work. I can't make it open. It probably takes a special access key."
"Then cover your ears and take cover,"
Nye grinned, pulling an old-fashioned black powder pistol from his raincoat. The Selkies went wide-eyed, all dove for the corners, and shielded themselves.
"What is that?"
Ben squealed.
"A Lyman Plains .54 caliber pistol, boy,"
Nye laughed.
"It's a little old-fashioned, but it's always done the job for me."
Ben hit himself as Nye pulled the trigger. The lead ball, that was the bullet, flew into the glass. For all of its noise, it did relatively little damage. But it managed to create a weak spot in the glass. Nye picked up the heaviest item he could find, unsure of exactly what it was, or what it was used for. Frankly, he didn't care. He was going to use it for his own purposes. He slung the item into the glass, shattering a huge section of it. Heavy boots stepped inside, and Nye examined the 6 confused Selkies. They looked unharmed by the blast, if not simply a little disoriented. His eyes fell onto Nemo. Once over, he scooped him up, which brought a wave of fright over the young Selkie. "Put him down," Lazuli hissed.
"Follow me out if you're wanting any hope of freedom," Nye ordered.
"Everyone out!" This was a man who had one of those booming thundersticks. This obviously gave him the advantage over them. They were unsure if they should obey without question, or to cower and plead for mercy. But then Nye left the enclosure with Nemo still under his arm. Yue darted after him. After him came the others in pairs, avoiding the glass scattered all over the ground. Once away from the glass debris, Nye set Nemo down, which immediately calmed the lad. "Who are you?" Yue asked. "How did you know about us? And where to find us?"
"I'm a friend,"
Nye replied simply. "Brother Raleigh must have sent him to let us out," Nemo cheered. "Is that true?" Artemis asked, curiously looking the Admiral over. "Did Brother Raleigh send you?"
"He has no idea that I've come for you, but rest assured your well-being was heavy on his mind. Consider this my surprise to him."
"How do we know if it's safe to go with you?" Lazuli accused.
"You don't,"
Nye said simply. This shocked Lazuli, for he was expecting some sort of excuse.
"I won't give you a cockamamie story to back up my gracious behavior. You either trust me or you don't. You can come with me and hope that I'm all the good stuff I seem to be, or you can cower your behind back in the tank, awaiting to be locked away for sure again."
"You're a bold fool," Atari rasped.
"But it seems that you'd be the lesser of the two evils. Besides, 6 of us against 1 of you should prove no contest. I'm glad an old-fashioned fellow like you is capable of spouting a good bit of wisdom for the good of your followers," Nye accused.
"What about him?" Phoebus asked, motioning to Ben, sitting in the fetal position, cell phone to his ear. Atari snarled, snatched up the phone, and tossed it, which caused it to smash into pieces.
"Filthy human! Try and call for help without your magic wand!"
Nye casually began to reload his pistol, holding the bag of black powder in his teeth.
"Looks like we're going to be in for a bit of company, boys. Be prepared!"
Sure enough, minutes later, the door opened and in rushed another of the doctors. But Phoebus burst forward, landing a punch, dropping the scientist to the floor and rendering him unconscious.
Good job, Phoebus, Atari praised. Let's kill the wicked white coat. Wait,
Nye ordered, looking the man over. He was a bit surprised to realize just who had come to Ben's call for help.
That's Dr. Malcolm Stock. But can't be a kill in this one. Raleigh wouldn't be too happy.
So? Lajlai spat.
One less human to come after us is all.
Then let's kill that one, Atari suggested with a grin, turning his gaze onto Ben.
I'm just a veterinarian,
he squealed desperately. Leave him, Yue stated in a tone that would take no argument from the others. Let's not put ourselves in more trouble than we already are in. If we kill him, then more humans will come after us. Next time it may not be a holding tank. Next time, we could be the ones being killed. Besides, if it was Brother Raleigh's intention to free us from our situation, we mustn't disrespect him by being so childish with our actions. Yue's right, Nemo chimed in. Let's just get out of here before something else happens. I want to go home. What do you think? Artemis asked Nye. Why are you asking him? You'd obey a human over me? One of your own kind? Atari spat.
That would probably be because I have the weapon, Atari. So it seems the others are wise to realize that I am the one calling the shots. You there, he called, referring to Phoebus. Pick him up. We'll be taking him with us.
What about the other human? Lajlai asked. Is it safe to just leave him here like this?
Leave him be,
Nye replied. He glared at Ben, making the young man pale.
Boy, you'll breathe a word of this to no one. Do you understand?
Don't hurt Dr. Stock, and I will say nothing, Ben replied. Besides, who would believe me? I don't think cops would take kindly to explaining how someone stole human slaves from the lab. Doesn't look good for me or my job.
That's good to hear. If not for yours, then you remember that for Raleigh's sake.
Ben gave a nervous nod. Phoebus scooped up Malcolm and slung him over his shoulder. Abonai Porter then led the group of Selkies from the room, and ultimately from the lab. The rain was still light, but dropping more frequently than it had a little earlier. A storm is coming, Yue observed.
Yep,
I replied.
It's going to be a doozy, too.
So what do we do now? Lajlai asked. It's not like we can just scatter and escape back to the sea.
We can't do it like this.
Even if we can't get back to the sea, Atari began.
We need to get out of here.
We're not safe in this place.
Unless you're getting your sealskins back, you'll be stuck in this area. But if you stay in those clothes, you won't exactly blend in safely with the other human beings.
Nye explained.
You look like asylum escapees. We can't be having that. So we'll have to take some further steps to find your skins before our final farewells.
Do you know where they are? Nemo asked.
I'm not particularly sure. I'm a bet my last dime night he does.
Nye smirked, thumbing towards Malcolm, still out cold. The Selkies peered at the body, as if trying to decide if the notion was possible. Satisfied, their gazes fell back to the Admiral.
Now let's hurry. The sooner we get it moving, the less likely anyone gets caught.
Raleigh, why not wear some nicer pajamas? Kiana asked, leaning forward on the couch. Raleigh sat on the floor in front of her, dressed in white socks, blue sweatpants, and a white t-shirt. Who cares what it looks like, Mom? He replied. I'm just going to be sleeping in it. Quit fussing over the boy, Kiana, Captain Jim defended. He knows what's comfortable for him to wear. You don't need to dress him anymore. Big talk from you, Jeff muttered, crossing his arms. You still yell at me about the way I dress. That's because you're a slob, he retorted. Only old seamen can look scraggly. Young seamen need to look nice. It's a surefire way to land you a seaside bride. Kiana covered her mouth to hide her giggles. Captain Jim always gave Jeff a hard time. She wondered if it was because he was the firstborn, or simply because he was the son. She had always been like his little mermaid princess, so she had it much easier than her brother. I'll be fine, Raleigh assured. This is comfortable. It feels right to wear on a night like this. We
need some popcorn and cream soda," Captain Jim said with a whiskered smile. "Then we can watch those monster movies that are on late at night." "Dad!" Kiana scolded. "He'll never get any sleep if you do stuff like that." "Weekends are meant for that kind of thing," he argued. She shook her head and stood up. "I'll never understand the way you men think. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to use the little girl's room." "We have one of those here?" Jeff asked with a snicker as Kiana walked by, swatting him on the back of the head. He turned his head over his shoulder to call her. "Put the seat down or you'll fall in again." "Is she like that at home?" Captain Jim asked a giggling Raleigh. "Sometimes. She can't help but get fussy." A loud boom rattled the house, causing everyone to jump with a start. It almost felt like an earthquake. "Would you listen to that thunder?" Jeff shouted. "Thunder." Captain Jim stood, heading to the door, and peered out the peephole. He grabbed a baseball bat just before another thunderous bang came. It wasn't the sky. It was a knock. He flung the door open, but didn't have a chance to issue a threat as Admiral Night Porter shoved him back and sent him off balance. Behind him, a flood of strangers that were the Selkies leaked in. Phoebus flung Malcolm's body forward and onto his back on the carpet. "Dad!" Raleigh gasped. "What the hell is going on here?" Jeff demanded, getting to his feet. "Who are these people?" "You got a lot of nerve and a lot of explaining to do, Nye," Captain Jim roared. "Nemo!" Raleigh gasped again, seeing the young Selkie among the group. "Admiral, you freed the Selkies!" "What?" from his grandfather. Admiral Night Porter, now in a dry place, started to attempt to light his pipe. "Here they are, boy. Every last one of them is accounted for." "What did you do to Malcolm?" Jeff demanded. "He's fine. Let's just say Phoebus here is a Navy SEAL of a different sort." "What are you doing bringing him here?" Captain Jim hissed. "Well, I knew Raleigh was here. Besides, I need a boat. The Ursula is still out of commission for the time being. You got the only boats that can compare to my beauties. But first things first, these guys need some clothes. I'll explain it while they get dressed and dried off." "This is ludicrous," Jeff growled. "Be quiet, Jeff," Captain Jim ordered. "The sooner we get them dressed, the sooner we can get rid of them." He looked the Selkies over, his face darkening as he scanned each one. "I have some things in my closet. Jeff, help with the teenies." "Thanks, Grandpa," Raleigh cheered as he hopped up and took Nemo's hand. "I was so worried about you guys." "We're all right, Brother Raleigh," he replied. "I'm just glad that we aren't in that place anymore. Am I going to be wearing your garments?" "I got something he can wear," Captain Jim chimed in, leading the Selkies down the hallway and splitting them up. Atari, Yue, and Nemo followed him into his room. Phoebus, Lazuli, and Artemis were led into Jeff's room. Raleigh, however, was urged to return to the den. After all, his mother wouldn't be in the bathroom forever, and she'd likely want to investigate what all the yelling was about. By the time he got there, Nye was puffing on his pipe, staring at the flabbergasted Kiana. What? Malcolm?" "He's all right, ma'am," Nye replied. "He's just sleeping the head off. You might want to take a seat." "What's going on? What is the meaning of all this, Admiral?" "He's just trying to help," Raleigh insisted, leaping over the back of the couch and bouncing on the cushions. "He brought my friends over. They were in a bad place, and he's going to take them home." "You have any idea what sort of work your husband does, Kiana?" Nye asked. "He's a marine biologist. He studies the environment and animals of the ocean. Why? What does that have to do with anything?" "There are some things that need not be studied." In Captain Jim's bedroom, Atari swung a scarf about his neck. It was gray and merlot, tassels on each end. He had traded his patient clothing for a pair of camouflage cargo pants and a gray t-shirt. The sleeves had been ripped off, giving his slender frame an almost butch appearance. Fingerless biker gloves, of which he wore on his hands, enhanced it. But like this, several more of his scars were visible. He truly was a mess, wasn't he?
Yue had been given one of Captain Jim's old Navy uniforms. It was white and very neatly pressed. It was quite a contrast to the elder. Nemo was rather similarly dressed. Captain Jim had pulled his outfit from the trunk of Jeff's childhood clothing. It was a Donald Duck-style sailor top and a pair of white sailor bell-bottoms. The only thing missing from this ensemble was a hat, which Nemo wasn't interested in anyway. "We appreciate this help, sir," Yue said politely, fixing his sleeve. "These garments are quite nice." "Huh. I guess pack ratting has its advantages. As old men shrink, so I don't fit in that anymore." "Jeff used to wear that little number on Sundays," he replied, thumbing towards Nemo. "That old mariner is quite a pushy one," Atari spat. "He even bosses around other humans." "He's just like that," Captain Jim replied. "He's a pain in the neck, and always has been. But I guess he knows what he's doing. Even if I don't like it, I have to admire the old fool's courage." "Courage is a virtue, when combined with wisdom," Yue stated. "It is how a leader is born." In Jeff's room, the other 3 Selkies finished choosing and dressed in their new clothes. Phoebus had chosen a gold and black button-up shirt and a pair of black slacks. It seemed to make him glow a bronze luminescence. Jeff had a scowl at him. He didn't look like that in that shirt. Artemis wore a midnight blue turtleneck tucked into a pair of neatly pressed white slacks, tightened by the proper fit by a black belt. Lazuli was the last of them to finish. He was dressed in a long-sleeved plum purple shirt, untucked, and a pair of dark blue pants. "I feel like I'm harboring fugitives," Jeff remarked as he crossed his arms. He narrowed his eyes at Artemis. "Almost accurate, aren't I?" Artemis threw a hard stare at him and cast him a bit of a scowl. "You know nothing, human. Don't assume that you do." "Don't give us attitude," Lazuli warned. "It wasn't our choice to be stranded in this place. Humans like you made that decision for us against our will." "Would all 3 of you just stop?" Phoebus sighed. "This sort of behavior isn't going to get us anywhere. I can certainly understand how imposing on these humans might make them a little cranky. But it will be over soon. We'll have our skins, and we'll be able to return to our home in the sea." "Whatever will have the Admiral take you on your merry way is fine with me," Jeff concluded, leaving them to return to the den. Raleigh peered up when he saw Jeff, but he beamed with joy when he saw Nemo scurrying behind him into the den. He held out his arms and spun around, showing off his new clothes. "What do you think, Brother Raleigh? I look like you now." "Sort of," Raleigh replied, getting up and coming over to him. Nemo was extremely excited. He grabbed his hands and hopped about in place, and in small circles in an improvised dance. It made Nye chuckle a little. That little Selkie had a lot of exuberance. But like most children, his attention span seemed to flit from one thing to another without a moment's notice. He took one look at Malcolm on the floor and darted over to him. "He hasn't woken up yet?" Phoebus must have hit him really hard. He glanced at Kiana, who was watching him with wide-eyed shock. "Hello," he said to her with a bright smile. "Do you have some water? Maybe we can revive him. Then he can tell us where we have to go." "Selkies?" she breathed as she reached out to touch Nemo's cheek. "It's true?" Nemo placed his hand gently over hers, and he gave her a soft and thoughtful expression. "You don't have to be afraid or nervous. Everything is going to be okay. It always turns out okay, right?" "Yes," she said with a sigh and a smile. She got up and headed into the kitchen, leaving Nemo to watch over Malcolm's body as the other Selkie started to drift into the den. She returned moments later and handed him a glass of water. "Thank you," he said politely. He then straddled over Malcolm, looking into his face. He was breathing fine. He dipped his fingers into the glass, scooping out some water and sprinkling it over Malcolm's face. Malcolm flinched, which was what Nemo wanted. "Wake up, Mr. Malcolm. We need you to wake up." "Ugh." Malcolm groaned, starting to come to. He's awakening, Yue observed. Malcolm, wake up! Kiana joined in the urging. She knelt down beside her husband and placed a hand under his head. Wake up! Please, Malcolm, wake up! Slowly he opened his eyes, seeing the crowd of people and his wife. He sucked in a breath and flung up into a sitting position. What's going on? He took one look at the Selkies and scowled. You're all in big trouble. Big talk for someone in your position, Atari heckled. What do you plan to do now that we're not behind glass, white coat? What's the meaning of all this, Malcolm? Captain Jim demanded. I have a better question, Nye added. Where are the sealskins? What is the purpose of keeping Selkies in that lab? Where were the sealskins taken? Dad? You knew they were there? Raleigh gasped. Why? Why, Dad? Why would you hold them prisoner like that? It's none of your concern, Raleigh, Malcolm insisted. These creatures are lab property. They're living creatures, Dad, Raleigh spat. You just don't care about anyone, do you? You don't care who you hurt. You're always about your own selfish stuff. You only wanted me to get better because you're embarrassed about me, not because you truly cared. You probably only wanted us to come back to the shore because it made you look bad that me and Mom were in the mountains. You don't care how anyone else feels. I bet you don't even care that these Selkies were afraid too. You probably didn't even care that they had families that they missed. You probably didn't care that they had family that missed them and wondered where they disappeared. All you ever think about is yourself. Raleigh? Tell them where they are if you know, Dad, Raleigh demanded. Where are the skins? I'm not going to let you hurt them anymore. I'm not going to let anyone hurt them anymore. And I'm not going to let you hurt anyone else anymore either. You're going to help them get home. Don't you talk to me like that, boy, Malcolm growled, grabbing onto Raleigh's shirt. Kiana screamed and grabbed his hand to attempt to pry it from her son. Nye stepped forward, sending his foot into Malcolm's chest and pressing him back onto the floor. That's enough, Mr. Stalk. Now the boy asked you a question. But if you feel you don't owe anything to him, then maybe I should ask again. But the longer you jerk me around, boy, the harder I'm going to ask. Might as well do your body a favor and answer clear and quick. Malcolm, Kiana urged, tell them, please. Why are you being so stubborn? Why are you insisting on keeping them here? Don't you know? Malcolm hissed at her angrily before glaring up at the Admiral. Fine. They're being kept somewhere on the Amphitrite Aquatic Center. How clever, you scumbag, Nye growled. What is the Amphitrite? Raleigh asked. It's an amphibian base, way out in the ocean. It's a brilliant place to hide a Selkie skin, since they're too afraid of the water to find a way out there to retrieve them. Can't swim, can't escape, Malcolm smirked. Been that way for many decades. I just picked up where my mentor left off. And when I'm gone, someone else will pick it up. That's horrible, Kiana shouted. Your loyalties and priorities are sickening, I growled. Be a good lad and walk us to a boat. Hey, now wait a minute, Captain Jim insisted. It's pouring. We can't go anywhere with a storm coming in. The waves will be murder. Weather like this can free a floating lab, Captain. Then the Amphitrite will become the Brigadoon. Oh, that'll make it so hard to find, Yue sighed. Even Brigadoon shows up to be found once in a while, Atari assured. Let's go. Isn't that dangerous? Raleigh asked. I mean, not only is there a storm, but these Selkies are terrified of the water. Is it wise to put them on a boat that could sink? Sink? Captain Jim gasped. Are you accusing my boats of being unseaworthy? My boats can handle anything. When people are put in certain situations, it's considered a sink or swim deal. You'll be surprised how many people will swim, Raleigh, Nye stated. We are afraid, Brother Raleigh, Nemo assured. But that is what we have to do if we ever want to go home. I'm willing to face that. I'm sure everyone else is too. We miss our families. We miss our home. We want to be free. You won't have to do it alone, Nemo, Raleigh declared. I'm going to go with you. No! Malcolm, Kiana, Captain Jim, and Jeff cried out.
That would be rather unwise of you, boy, Nye added. This is a very dangerous ride.
Which is all the more reason why I shouldn't let him go alone, Raleigh stated. If they can just jump out of the frying pan and into the fire without a second thought, then I have no right to stay behind because of fear. I'm going too. I'm not letting my baby risk that, Kiana insisted. I'm sorry, Mom, but I feel this is something I have to do. I won't allow it, Malcolm spat. I won't listen to you anymore, Raleigh spat back. You're not worth my attention. Nemo placed a hand on his shoulder, a frown on his face. Brother Raleigh, are you absolutely sure? This is very dangerous. If something happens out there, there won't be anyone able to help us. We could all drown out there. That is the black water. It is the worst-case scenario for anyone who is afraid of the water and cannot swim. Oh, for the love of Poseidon, Atari shouted. Let him go. I'd say we bring them all along. Bring them all. Then we have human hostages. Nye sighed and reached over to give the scarf a good yank. It made Atari zip backwards with a gag. Shut up, Atari. I'm not going to argue with you lot. Whoever's going, get up. Let's go. Time's a-wasting. He turned to Jeff. You hurry over to my lighthouse. Do you hear me? What? Jeff gasped. Why me? Because I said so. Do not let that lighthouse go out. Do you hear me? Keep it lit no matter what. I don't care if you use the house for kindle. You keep that light lit throughout the storm. Do not let it go out. If it goes out, you jump to your death. If we come back out of this alive, I'll hunt you down and I'll kill you myself. For your sake, keep it lit. Hurry, Jeff, Kiana shouted. If Our Porter is here, that means no one's tending to the lighthouse. There could be other boats that could be in real danger, and we'll need the light to find our way back. We? Malcolm asked. What's this we thing? You're not going anywhere. I'm going with my son. If I can't convince him to stay, then I'm going with him. I'd rather die out there with him than sit here with you and do nothing. No need to worry about that, Atari rasped. Phoebus, I think it's too dangerous to leave Malcolm here. Let's take him with us. As much as I hate to admit it, that is probably the safest choice for the Selkies, Nye stated. Malcolm, get up. All of us, it seems, except for Jeff Morris, are going on a little boat ride.